you. First of all, warm welcome also from my side. So I'm the lucky guy who has the session after the lunch. Hope that you are not in lunch coma and you still enough power to listen to my voice. This voice will be the topic for the next talk, for the next about 40 minutes. So my name is David Kaiser. I'm leading the Alexa skills team in Berlin for Germany and Austria. And my team generally helps developers to be part of this voice revolution pioneered by Amazon Alexa. I'm saying voice revolution because we already see a lot of our customers changing rapidly how they interact with technology. So in my talk I will tell you basically three things. One is, why are we so invested heavily from Amazon side into voice? Where we are with this voice revolution and what it means for developers. So why are we doing this at Amazon? Why are we investing so much money into Alexa? And the answer is very easy when you look into our company vision. So we want to be the most customer-centric company in the world. And when you look into how we work at Amazon, we always work backwards from the customer. So we always start with the customer and want to make something easier, something more convenient in their lives. So when you then look back, what we have done in technology over the past 50, 60, 70 years is like we invented computers with keyboards. We invented remote controls for TVs with 40 buttons. I don't even know what half of the buttons are for. We invented thermostats in offices or even in houses where you need a handbook in order to understand, or a manual in order to understand what to do with it. And then you can easily come to the question, is this customer-centric? And I want to answer this question with a little movie. So I'm a kid from the 80s and I'm a big Star Trek fan. And I hope that works. Please.
Computer? Computer? Ah. Hello, computer.
Just use the keyboard.
The keyboard. Oh, quaint.
So I would say using a keyboard feels maybe for us natural because we grew up with it. But when you look back how humans developed over the past 100,000 of years, they used voice to interact with each other. And then, due to technical limitations and other reasons, we kind of developing backwards over the past 60, 70 years in order to make it easier, because the technology is not there yet, or was not there yet, to make it easier to interact. It's kind of changed already a bit, going to be more intuitive with mobiles, but we believe at Amazon that voice can really change back and make this development more natural in the future. Give you another example. I have a 4-year-old son, and he's a big Alexa fan, so he's listening to music, interactive stories, goodnight stories, and so on. And nowadays I see him more and more often talking to devices where Alexa is not even integrated. Sounds a bit weird when you first see this, but when you then think of, okay, he never learned the strange way to type on a keyboard. He never learned to move a mouse. So for him it's really natural to interact with technology with voice, because he's doing that since he's 2 years old. But if you have kids, I mean, it's really hard to explain to a 4-year-old when he's sitting in the car, he's his favorite song, and then he can't say, Alexa, play the song again. Because we don't have Alexa maybe in this car, and it's linear radio, right? So then this past 60 years, we have seen a couple of different iterations of interfaces. So we started in the 70s with character mode. I know you guys are developers, you still use a command line, but there has been a lot of developments in between. So we reached to graphical user interfaces with Windows in the 80s. The web appeared to connect to every different data source in the world. This was moving into mobile somewhere end of the 90s, so close to 2000. I remember I had my first Palm PDA in my hand in 1999, and I immediately knew that touchscreen would change the world. And it took about 10 years until Apple came with the iPhone and really brought web and touchscreen to the mass market. So those iterations take always some time, but what we see is voice is really accelerating very fast. So we see millions of users, tens of millions of users using our devices every day. And there is a study from MindMelt that already today 50 billion of searches are handled via voice, and by 2020 it's almost more than half of all searches. So that's why we believe at Amazon voice will be everywhere. So you have it in your house, you get easily, if you have it only in one room, you easily miss it in other rooms and you extend it wherever you are in your house. We see a lot of our customers using it, for example, in the kitchen, just to set basic timers when you are cooking. And what also a lot of our customers are doing, using it to control their smart home. So who of you has an Echo device at home? Okay. When I ask the same question in Germany, it's many more, I guess because we don't offer polish yet. But this is like the Echo first generation looks from inside. So it's a pretty much, on a first look, it's a pretty much basic hardware. So you have a loudspeaker at the bottom, you have a microphone array of 7 microphones, you have a light ring and a hardware mute button. So for example, light ring indicates when the device did understand the wake word, so Alexa, and a start streaming your voice to it. But already in this very basic hardware setup, there's a lot of technology inside. And I want to give you an example, the technology we call beamforming. So we use the 7 microphones to cancel background noise. So human being is very good in that. So if we talk, you hear a lot of other voice, you can really concentrate on what I'm speaking to. The computer is need to learn that first. So I give you an example. I hope that works as well.
Alexa.
So this is a real record from an interaction of an Alexa device. So how many times did you hear the word Alexa? 4? 3? So let's hear how the beamformed signal will sound like.
Alexa. Alexa.
Alexa. Alexa. Alexa.
So you see, it's already very hard for a human being to really make the difference between somebody who's speaking and when you're listening to voice. But this technology is really mandatory to make wake word detection on a device and to really listen to what is said from a far-field perspective. So when you use an Alexa speaker, you can place it everywhere in your room and you can talk to it from 5 meters, 10 meters, and it still recognizes you. So that was the hardware part of the Echo devices, and every of those endpoints is connected to the software part. And you can think of Alexa, this is a voice service which is running in the cloud, you can think of it as an extension of your brain. So you have kind of left side of your brain, which is the more analytical one, and you can use and leverage Alexa to do things more efficiently. So for example, if you want to get rid of your remote, I just showed in the beginning, you can just say, Alexa, turn on the TV, and you don't need to get up, look where your remote is, find the right button, and so on. And then you have the right side of your brain, which is the more creative one. You can use Alexa, for example, to play music, to fit your current mood, to get more emotional, or whatever you want. And the good news is that voice, and this is really true for all ages. So I just gave you the example of my son. So he tries to be very effective every night when he needs to go in bed. He sets a timer to stay up for another 10 minutes. But also, when you look into your grandparents, or at least my one, they are using Alexa to call every day and see what we are doing. So the software, so Alexa has a software stack in the cloud, consists of many, many different modules. I just give you a high-level overview what is needed to really do what Alexa does. One is ASR. So this is automated speech recognition. This is basically taking the audio file and transform it into text. And if you remember, maybe 20 years ago, we already had systems where you can speak into a microphone and it was transferring this into text, into Word or emails. But this became never mass market. When you look into the slide, you understand why, because the accuracy was not there, which is needed to really get adoption. And because of different developments over the past 4, 5, 6 years, and those recognition becomes more and more powerful, and the accuracy is getting better and better. We are close to human accuracy, around 95%. But it's still a long way to go to get where we really want to be, and I give you a difference. I was working a long time back for one of the largest private weather forecaster. And when you think of doing a weather forecast for the next day, and you're doing it 30 days, a whole month, and you are 29 times 100% right how the weather is on the next day, and there's one day wrong in the forecast, and everybody of your customer will be remind of those wrong forecasts, though you have been right for a lot of times. So accuracy is really, really important for adoption. Beside ASR, there are different other elements in there. One is so-called NLU, so this is natural language understanding. This takes the text and tries to add semantic to it, try to understand what you say. So if you say, for example, book a hotel, the computer needs to understand, do you want to book a hotel room, or is he talking about to book a hotel? And this is something where you need a lot of machine learning and intelligence to do this. I'm not a machine learning expert, there are data talks about it. Don't ask me when machines will be much better than human, but it will definitely happen. There are already areas where this is true, like chess or whatever. But all the algorithms are really becoming more and more powerful, and this whole development is accelerating a lot. So the good news is that over the past years, decades of years, computers have been much more powerful. So we started with computing a couple of hundred words, and we now can compute tens of million words, which is mandatory that you as developers can benefit from such a voice technology like Alexa. This was the voice recognition part of Alexa, but there's another component. Yeah? Alexa needs to talk to you back. And this is either you can do audio files yourself, but you can also use Alexa to talk via text-to-speech engine. Text-to-speech is going back to the first thing I found to this voice demonstrator called Boulder. It was 1939. This was the first demonstration. I'll give you this example.
Let's see how you put expression into a sentence. Say, she saw me, with no expression. She saw me. Now say it in answer to these questions. Who saw you?
She saw me.
Whom did she see?
She saw me.
Did she see you or hear you?
She saw me.
So really impressive if you lived at that time, right? 1939, I'm pretty sure this was really, really amazing to hear the first computers or the first synthesized speech. And when you think of this, Alexa talking that way, I mean, there's been a lot of more developments to really get to adoption. Give you just another example of the same thing was a demonstration in radio.
Will you please let the voters say for our Eastern listeners, good evening, radio audience. And now for our Western listeners, say, good afternoon, radio audience.
Good afternoon, radio audience.
You see, this is not really sufficient for voice assistants you want to really interact with. And then there have been a lot of different iterations, a lot of research done, a lot of invention, and when you then hear the example of our voice, we launched 2014 in the US with Alexa.
I can play music, answer questions, get the news and weather, create to-do lists, and even read books for you.
So there's a big discrepancy between both, and it's a huge development going into this direction. And of course, it's just day one, which is a typical model at Amazon. We also need to improve that further and further, right? So you can imagine that with the first version of this TTS, you might be not able to really bring emotion into the speech when she reads out the book for a good night story for her son. So we are really trying to invent further, and we just announced last week a new mode, so-called whisper mode. So this TTS is now able, or will be able in future, when you whisper to her, to whisper back. And there will be a lot of more of these developments in future. So all of these developments, as I said, are really mandatory to get to an adoption where we want to be. And we saw about 5 years that's now the right timing to combine all of those different technologies with our cloud service, with the scalability of our cloud, with the security of our cloud, with the improved algorithms to build these kind of magic moments and launch Alexa. And over the past years, this has grown to tens of millions users worldwide, and only in the past year the user base grew about 5 times, and it's accelerating all the time. So you hear about why we are so heavily invested, you hear about where we are a bit with the technology. So what is in for you as developers? And I want to start with a quote from Jeff B. he gave a while back, and the quote, and he said, the most radical innovations are those who empower others to be creative. And when you think of this, you see it in a lot of DNA at Amazon. So we have this retail store where we empower others to sell their products and reach people worldwide. We have this AWS services where we build the infrastructure, and other companies are so creative and build complete new products like video streaming, like we heard in the talk before with Netflix. And the same is for voice. Not every company can be invested so heavily and have thousands of people working on this complex technology like voice. So we want to open this for developers, and that's why we implemented the Alexa framework. We also believe we will not build the voice assistant, the perfect voice assistant ourselves. We want you guys to be creative and surprise us with things like this voter that when we look in 10 years back, we think of how can we have lived without this. And this Alexa framework consists mainly of 2 parts. One is the Alexa voice service, and the vision of the Alexa voice service is to get Alexa everywhere. And there are people who want to have a high-end device, a small device, a yellow device, want to have it in a car, and so on. And this Alexa voice service enables other companies, other hardware manufacturers to build in Alexa into their devices. So it's not only our Echo devices, it's a Sonos device who can access Alexa in the cloud. It can be a fridge or a microwave or whatever you can think of where you want to have this magic moment and say, like in the Star Trek movie, and this magic voice comes out. The second part of this framework is the Alexa skill kit. And our vision is there that Alexa at someday can answer everything. Alexa learns a lot and she can already answer a lot, but it's also still day one. There are also many things she can't do today. And it's still a long way for us, and we want you as developers to be part of it. Because we don't know when the train is late, we can't order a My Taxi, and we don't know the recipe of the day. It's all up to you guys, companies, indie developers, to build those things as skills into Alexa. As said, there are different angles, and the developer tools for the Alexa voice service are growing rapidly. So we've just recently announced a new developer kit for the Alexa voice service, which reduces integration time up to 4 to 6 months. And we just released another extension of this Alexa voice service SDK for gadgets. So in Germany can buy Echo buttons, which are kind of first device which you can connect to your voice assistant. But also last week, I don't know if you've read it in press, we had a big announcement. We launched more than 70 new features and devices, about 40 new devices like a new Echo Show, but also a kind of connected wall clock. You can think of why in a connected wall clock, but it really gives you the information if there are set timers. And if you put this as a kind of additional device into your kitchen and you are cooking a lot, this helps you really much to do things more easier. So the Alexa Voice Service SDK has helped us to really get into many, many different new form factors. And we have seen so far more than 50 different form factors of thousands of different devices where you can already access Alexa. To give you just an example, after we launched the first Echo device with our voice first approach, we saw also use cases from our customers. Like I said, many of them are using it for cooking in the kitchen. And we believed and we saw the opportunity that it would be great to have an additional screen to add even more value to voice. And that's why we launched the first Echo Show and followed by the Echo Spot, where you can, as a developer, not only provide feedback via voice, but can add visuals. And it's very good when you cook and you are not a Michelin star cook, to see what you need to do, for example, to prepare the fish fillet or whatever. Alexa Everywhere does not start with loudspeakers or with devices in your home like the fridge. It also goes beyond your house, and we are really running fast to integrate Alexa into the car. So Audi just announced a few weeks back to integrate it into their new e-tron. BMW is rolling it out to a couple of their cars. Ford in the US has launched it into many different cars. And last week, one of the devices we announced was Echo Auto, which you can connect to every older car which has Bluetooth in there. Alexa Everywhere does not mean only endpoints. Alexa Everywhere means also learning additional languages. And I do also see that we are really speeding up on how we launch new languages. So you can imagine we launched Germany 2 years ago as the first foreign language for Alexa. And over the past 2 years, we really speed up and launched many, many different new languages, like Japan, we launched in France, and we just announced Spain and Italy and opened it for developers. And the good news is we also ship devices, Echo devices, into more than 65 countries in English. So when you have Alexa Everywhere, we really said we also want to get Alexa to know everything. And that's the good thing of having Alexa differentiated from the hardware, because Alexa is sitting in the cloud, so she's learning all the time. So what you ask her now and she's not able to answer might be possible in an hour. Or you guys develop a skill for answering specific parts of questions or for doing something, and immediately Alexa learns that things. We have already more than 50,000 skills from developers worldwide. A couple of 100,000 are developing skills today for Alexa. And just to name a few, as I said, you can call an Uber, you can ask for a history of the day, or day in history, you can ask your Fitbit device how many steps you have done today, and so on. So there are really, really many of those cases. But there are also indie developers, and to give you an example of Germany, there was an indie developer who has built one of the most used skills for Germans. And Germans are a bit peculiar when it comes to their garbage. If you have a house in Germany, you have a couple of garbage bins, like recycling, like paper and so on. And it's really hard to remember on which day you need to put out which garbage bin. And this developer just provided a skill, and Alexa reminds you now of when to put out which of those bins. And it's one of the most used skills. It's a very simple use case. Nobody has thought of, but it was a pain for every customer in the past. So I would really encourage you, give your vision a voice, and we see already a lot of developers worldwide coming up with super crazy or also creative ideas, and I'm really impressed. And I want to give you a quick intro to some of those developers with the video.
We started out with a small idea. We wanted to create the world's first interactive radio drama. We were mobile first at the beginning there. Luckily, Alexa came along. I remember, I told my team, okay, I think we're going to make a pivot here. I think we're going to focus on Alexa. I have thousands and thousands of cats. And I'm like, why not try and learn Alexa and do something cool with the Raspberry Pi? I remember I spent almost an entire weekend doing it, like barely any sleep. My first skill is pretty simple. It's called Black History Every Day.
Patricia Bath, first black woman to serve on staff.
It started to work on April 3rd, 2017, which happened to be my 60th birthday. And I cried when it worked. I cried tears of joy.
Tell unofficial Raspberry Pi card to move the car forward.
The car is moving forward.
We're driving my car with my voice.
Please tell me what category of words you want to practice on.
Adjective.
Great. How do you say curious?
Curious.
You said it correctly.
I built speech, and this is a skill that helps educating people how to speak better. Because people who are from overseas, they are self-aware about how they speak. I have one user, he literally wrote a message in Chinese to me like that. Doctor speech is really helpful, and thank you for building it.
SmartCap takes the images from the camera and it interprets what's in the image, and then it narrates the scene to the visually impaired person through Amazon Alexa. Alexa, ask SmartCap to describe the scene.
It is a desk with a monitor and a laptop computer sitting on a table.
As soon as I saw the video of the person using the device, it was a eureka moment for me, and the feeling from inside is like you are doing something good in life and it can help others to achieve what they want.
One of the other projects I created, I called it Alexa in the browser. You could just go to a web page and you had a virtual echo, it was just a white circle on the page. It became a product called echosim.io, which is a echo simulator. It's amazing, I go to events and I see people kind of developing echo skills, and they fire up echosim.io on their laptop and they just sort of talk to Alexa through that. And it's like, oh yeah, that's running my code underneath.
We're on the cusp of a revolution, a voice revolution.
Voice definitely is the most powerful medium I can say which can change the world.
It is so powerful that I think in 2018 it will be a big year for the voice space. That's why I want to be a pioneer in this space, yeah.
And now is the time to start learning this stuff and to get involved in it, because so many developers you look at and go, oh, if I could have gone back 10 years ago.
As a result of this shift to voice, we've reached a much, much broader audience than we ever thought was possible. That is a much bigger future than anything I originally expected.
Isn't that impressive? So I'm always very impressed with this, what developers are building. I'm still getting goosebumps when I see this video. So it's it really shows that we are on the right way, on where we are heading, and we really want to encourage you to start thinking how voice can play a role in your customer interactions. To find a way and where to start with skill building, I would really would say start with how a typical day looks like. There's no really typical day for an Alexa user, but this is kind of how it looks like. So what we see is a lot of users are using Alexa to control their home, and smart home is a really important part. I just say a few words later on, but people start the day with turn on the lights, and then what we also see is a kind of changed morning routine that people start asking Alexa what's in the news, and they can get their favorite news provider and let Alexa reading out the news or the favorite news anchor just speaking it. And what you then can imagine, if you go to work, you can just call an Uber, maybe during the day you ask for what's on the movies. If there's nothing on the movies, you maybe play on the cinemas, you maybe play a game, or you can think of what to cook tonight and ask for the recipe. And also, since this is sound device, music plays a very important role, and you can think of also a lot of people use it with relaxing sounds to get sleep tonight. So there are really a lot of possible interactions where you can think of building habitual use for the users. Give you just an example, a very basic thing. Add something to do your to-do list, how it looks today. And what we so call in the modern way. So you locate your phone, you unlock your phone, you locate the right app for your to-do list. You find the right to-do list and add something to the to-do, you type what you want to add, and then you click done, you exit the app, and you put away the phone. So a lot of interactions to just put something on a to-do list. So when you look how this can look like via voice, it's just this. So there's no more on this slide. You just say, Alexa, add book a flight to my to-do list, and it's done. And the good news is that this can be interacting with the to-do list app you maybe have on your phone, so it's immediately there. And if you have a shared to-do list with your wife, it's already on that phone as well. So you see, voice can really make things easier. And that's where you should start thinking. Please don't start copying just what your app is doing. Think of where voice can make it faster, more convenient, or easier. Otherwise, people will not use your skill. Because there must be a real value proposition. Otherwise, they will always fall back into the habit using their phone. As said, smart home is another example for that. I'm a kind of technical geek. I have smart home devices for almost 10 years. My wife did never understand why I spend money for this. And I was just counting the apps on my phone. I have 14 different apps from different smart home manufacturers on my phone. So it was kind of obviously why smart home did not reach the mass market, because the value proposition from smart home was, hey, it's easier to do things, but similar like this to-do list, it's not easier to unlock your phone, find the right app out of those 14, go into the right menu, then find the right lamp, and then try to turn on the lights. It's much easier nowadays when you say, go into a room, you have a group of Echo device with these light bulbs you want to turn on, you just say, Alexa, turn on, and it's just happening. And this is the first time that my wife starts using this, right? She's using it for lights, she's using it for the blinds, and so on. It's the first time that you have a kind of ambient interface in your house which you can ask to do something for you, and it's a kind of unified interface, the same language for all of those smart home providers. But we do not stop there. So we have listened to our customers, those customers who get used to use smart home devices. They are really demanding and they want to do more than just saying turn on the lights and turn off the lights. And they ask us, hey, would it not be cool to do more things with just one task? And that's why we introduced a while back the so-called routines. Every customer can define themselves. So for example, I have a good night routine where I say, Alexa, good night. It turns off all lights in the house, even if I have forgotten something on the first floor. And it shuts down the blinds. The same you can think of whatever you want to do, like a movie scene which dims the light on a specific thing, turns off the music and activates the TV with just one routine. So this is really cool and powerful to do a lot of those things. Also, same as for the Alexa voice service, we are extending the capabilities of our developer tools heavily also for the Alexa Skill Kit. Just about the last months, we added more than 100 new features. For example, we have a command line interface. We have a new developer portal where it's much more easier to build interaction models. And we introduced kind of developer rewards where we pay developers if they have a very high engaging skill used by a lot of people. So how does that work? How do you think of, how does your skill interact with the Echo device? So you start with saying the wake word. So the device only listens to the wake word locally, and if it recognizes the wake word Alexa, it turns on the light ring and then it starts streaming what you're saying to the cloud. So you give the audio what is transferred to the cloud, and we do all of these magic like ASR and AU and so on, and then we send an intent to your let's say, business logic or to your infrastructure. The infrastructure could be a Lambda function. It's an easy way, like you learned before, but it could be also your own infrastructure or whatever you want. Then you do all your magic, your creative stuff, and then you send back what you want Alexa to repeat. Then we do the TTS stuff you just learned before, and this is then sent back to the device, like the Alexa voice, or you can also send all your files. And if you want, you can also provide a visual output either to the Alexa companion app or to the newer devices like the Echo Show. So you see, you don't need to think of all of those language processing, you just need to react on a specific intent we think the customer set to Alexa. So, where to start? If you, for example, look from a brand side, or you can start as an indie developer just fitting everywhere in the day, but if you look from a brand side, so if you work for a bigger company or so on, you can think of different ways. So there are different product life cycles or different customer life cycles. Try to find the easiest way to start with. That must be very, very easy, and we really recommend you to start with a kind of minimal lovable product. So in this example, for example, you have decided to build your skill into the consideration phase, maybe for a shop. And think of a perfume store where you think of, okay, how does Alexa can help to find the right perfume? And why not let Alexa answer the question, Alexa, which perfume should I buy? And then you go into a natural interaction, like when you are in this real shop, what the service guy will ask you. And so you can kind of think of a gift finder. But you can also think of adding into a later step. So for example, if somebody purchased already something, you can think of asking Alexa where your package is, when will it arrive at your home, and so on. So think all of these things where Alexa can fit in. If you have the right use case, we offer a couple of different types to build skills. So we have mainly 3 types. There are a couple of others, but these are the main ones. The easiest one is flash briefing. So if you are a print magazine or a website and you have an RSS feed, you might maybe need a few tweaks to the RSS feed, but you can immediately provide your news to Alexa in a so-called flash briefing skill. It takes you 10 minutes to set this up. And then customers can ask, Alexa, give me the news, and they will get your stuff if they have chosen you as the news provider. Second area is the so-called smart home API skills. This has a very fixed interaction model. You can't do anything about it. This makes it very easy for you to build a smart home skill. So the interaction model consists of turn on, turn off, and so on. And the advantage is you don't need to ask for an invocation name. Each of the skills needs to have an invocation name. So it's like Alexa, ask Uber to call a ride or something like this. We always have this, here in this case, Uber is the invocation name. The smart home skills, you don't need it today, and we are trying to reinvent even further that you don't need it for other skills, but we are not there yet. And then you have these custom skills, super powerful, but it can be also super complex. So you own the whole interaction model. So you can build whatever you want, how you think the interaction between Alexa and the user should look like. So I want to give you some tips if you think of building an Alexa skill. So you really think of owning a moment. It must be a very small thing which really helps the user with something. And there's this American company called Tide, a lot of washing gels and whatever, and they built a stain remover skill. Super successful, because they thought of, okay, a lot of our customers don't know what to do with a red wine stain, with the tomato stuff on their shirt or whatever. And this is just, people can just ask Alexa and they get some really good tips. Meet customer expectations. Yeah, I mean, the name of your skill, the product description, and also if you are already a well-known brand, people expect something for you. So if you are Domino's Pizza, don't provide them news about technology. I mean, people will not understand it. But also Domino's knows a lot of their customers are just reordering the same pizza every time. So a customer expects that it's so easy to just reorder. So they introduced a skill where you can just, Alexa, ask Domino's to reorder. And then your favorite pizza is coming through and maybe you take it for the hangover on Sundays. Prioritize utility. So like the kayak skill is doing similar like the standing room where they just brought the skill where you can ask for flights and so on, find a connection and think of buying tickets. But the best customer engagement is really if you leverage the utility, and that's why they introduced, because they saw a lot of people are asking also when does a specific flight code arrive. So people really want to know is the flight on track and so on. Encourage repeat usage. This is very, very important. You have to think of really getting into this user moment and try to build habits for the user. In some use cases, this is already built in, like this Uber case. If you have a good experience the first time, you will probably use it every morning if you drive via Uber to your office. But also think of a day in history. They are refreshing their content every day, so they have new content always for the customer. I mean, if you use a skill and you get, for example, also the same welcome message every time, it feels odd and users are not coming back. So really think of what to build in that people driving back into your skill all the time. You have to also think of promoting a skill. I mean, similar to app stores and whatever, if you build a skill, put it there and nobody knows it, you will not get engagement. So you have to think of how will you reach your user base. Yeah, we can do a lot in this direction to make it discoverable, for example, in the skill store, but also we are inventing a lot of technologies that Alexa itself can find the right skill, so working heavily on these. But again, you have to use channels like online, print, and so on. And then skate where the puck is going. So in this example, we have Starbucks. They just started with a reorder skill to reorder your coffee. It's maybe not that obvious in the first moment, but they are already thinking one step ahead. They see Alexa is going into the car. So how good would it be, or how great would it be to just order your next coffee, pay already on the go, directly from the car, still where you have your hands on the steering wheel, and it uses the location of your car, and your coffee is ready in the drive-thru whenever you are there. So they're already thinking forward. And then, as said, we introduced also new devices where we have, on top of the voice experience, you can leverage visuals to be even more creative. And it's not just the Echo Show, it's the Fire TV. This is the most used ASIN, for example, in Germany over the past years. ASIN is Amazon product number. And we just launched it also on tablets. And this is, when you have this voice experience, this is already great, but when you think of asking for the weather and she tells you what the weather looks today like and you see maybe a radar image on the screen, it's a kind of good combination. And the screen also supports completely new use cases, like streaming your favorite show and you can listen it when you are cooking. And the last thing I want to give you during this talk is we also think of monetization options for you guys. This is not launched globally, but we start rolling out new features in that direction. So I just informed you about the developer rewards, but we have, for example, in the US we launched subscriptions you can build into your skills. So for example, for streaming providers you can charge $9 a month. We have introduced one of in-skill purchases, and recently, I think last week it was, we also introduced consumables. So if you think of games or whatever cases where you can add monetized features like coins or credits or whatever. And we just launched Amazon Pay to the public, where you can use Amazon Pay for real life goods. So all these other things are kind of consumed on Alexa, but if you want to sell flowers, the coffee, or whatever you can think of like donations, you can leverage Alexa with Amazon Pay. So I would really encourage you to think of giving your vision a voice. When I summarize, you've learned about why are we invested so heavily, because we want to see, or we think of voice to be everywhere, and we are working hard to get Alexa everywhere, like in the smart home Star Trek video. The second thing I told you about how far we are with this revolution. I mean, we are super proud what we achieved over the past years. There's already a lot of possible you can't think of, but it's still day one. So we really want to invite everybody to think of and be pioneers in this space. And the last thing I've shown you is how easy it is to build skills. Even I'm not a developer, I built a skill, it's a very basic fact skill, don't ask for the name. But I built it in less than an hour, so it was very, very easy. We offer a lot of tools. There's a lot of how-to videos. We are running hackathons, events, workshops, webinars, and so on. I would really encourage you to go to developer.amazon.com. It's very easy to kick off your development of a skill. We have design guidelines, and there are coming new things every day. We recently launched Blueprints in the US. Blueprints is a kind of no-coding skill environment. So we can log in, we have a bunch of different blueprints, you pick your one and you can configure it and you can have your own skill without coding any line. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Any questions for David? We can take a few questions. Well, just give us a second, we'll hand over the microphone to you.
When Alexa will start to understand Polish language?
I heard the question the first time. Actually, I can't say when we are launching in new countries. So we just announced Italy and Spain. So as a developer, you can log in there, so the devices are not there available. But from an Amazon point of view, we really want to go global with it. So it's very interesting for us to let Alexa learn new languages, but I can't tell you any dates.
Other questions? Okay, we'll do my best.
It sounds like Alexa is a public service. Do you have a plan to make it personalized?
What do you mean with personalized? I mean, Alexa is very personalized to yourself, so she learns all the time from you, also from your voice, etc.
But personally, or like just some human? Does she know that it's me, that my name, my history, my priorities, and so on?
I answered that question in two directions. One is a feature which is already public in the US. It's called Speaker ID, or it's recognize who speaks. So you can train Alexa, is it you or is it your wife? And it can answer then personalized. So for example, if you then say play music, it plays your favorite song and not the favorite music of your kid, which drives me crazy all the time when I hear the music from my son. So this is kind of personalizing to you, and as a skill developer, you can always think of personalizing your skill experience to somebody. I mean, you should think of using, for example, a DynamoDB to save, was it the user, is it using the first time the skill? So maybe explain the skill a bit more in detail. Is he coming back already the 10th time? You don't need to tell him what the skill is about because he already knew it. Maybe you can remember the state, maybe use a specific feature of your skill all the time, so you should kind of greet him and maybe dive directly into this functionality. So we really recommend interacting with this, because nothing is more boring if the interaction does not feel natural. And like we talk, we have always context, and we should think of how to provide context to the skill. Does that answer the question?
And by the way, speaker identification also works in Poland, so I'm also using it exactly in the same use case.
You guys are lucky using the English version, but if you want to use the German version, we don't have it yet.
Okay, David will stay with us in case you have any further questions. He will be around, so you can touch base with David. And thank you very much, David.
Thank you very much.
And give us a few more minutes right now. We'll have